Governor Romney blasted the president in this Wall Street Journal op-ed published today outlining Romney's Mideast vision. And breaking news saber-rattling from North Korea at the UN tonight with new accusations that the U.S. is plotting another Korean war. So with all these foreign policy flashpoints, will Mitt Romney keep pounding the president in Wednesday's debate? Here now is the chair of the House Homeland Security Committee, Peter King, and former Assistant Secretary of State Richard Williamson, as senior Romney foreign policy advisor. Peter King, welcome back. I want to switch. Peter, I want to switch gears. I don't mean to be rude or anything like that. The revelations today by Univision, Jorge Ramos, that we have found 300 more dead Mexicans as a result of fast and furious gun traffic, and that 16 kids, Peter King, were found dead at this party just across the border. I just find this incredible. I find this Eric Holder story, Justice Department, incredible, and I want to know where you think President Obama... This has become a horror story, Peter, much worse than anybody thought possible.
Larry, it really has, and it's a story that for the longest time the administration was denying. Thank God that Darrell Issa kept going until he got to the bottom of it with his committee. He took a lot of hits and a lot of abuse, but he kept going. And the fact is, I think it turned out to be a lot worse even than Chairman Issa thought it was going to be. Now, the whole administration of justice has been terrible from the start, whether it's the 9/11 trials in Manhattan, whether it was his going after the CIA interrogators, and obviously the Fast and Furious, the way that was totally mishandled. And mishandled is actually too mild a word to use when we're talking about the death of a Border Patrol agent and the deaths of so many innocent Mexicans because of it. Again, he's a person I don't believe he should stay on as Attorney General. He should have, for the good of himself and the good of the office, stepped down months ago. But I don't think the president. I think the president will stand by him to the end because they seem to have a commitment to each other. I mean, it's wrong. The president. Yeah.
I ask you this. I know you called for the resignation of Ambassador Susan Rice and so forth, but I just think this new information that we got from Univision is absolutely horrifying. 300 more Mexicans and 16 kids died as a result of gun traffic that slow-walked its way somehow over the border. I mean, sure, it figures, right? It's the Mexicans who are going to take most of the burden of this since the guns were located in Mexico. How could they not have known? And is Obama really in charge of his own Justice Department, Mr. King?
No, Larry, I think Eric Holder has some kind of a hold on President Obama. He's been very independent from the start. He's been independent in the wrong way. He seems to be pursuing his own agenda and the Fast and Furious. To me, obviously, he should have stepped down. He should have resigned. I'm the person who does not believe in resignations. I think a president should be entitled to have his own people. When you have Eric Holder and Susan Rice, two different type situations, but you have both of them, I think, ability, and that's why I think both of them should resign, yes.
Ambassador Rich Williamson, welcome back. I want to switch gears and go back to the main chance here. The issue is whether Mr. Romney, Governor Romney, is going to inject foreign policy leadership into Wednesday's debate. There's enormous speculation, some of it fueled by his op-ed piece in today's Wall Street Journal, which blasts the president. I know the debate, Rich, is about the economy, but it's also about leadership. Do you reckon that Governor Romney will put foreign policy into that debate?
Well, Larry, I think all this month you're going to have a contrast both on the economy and on foreign policy. What we're seeing, as Chairman Ryan said, is the unraveling of the Obama foreign policy, the setbacks, the turmoil in the Middle East, the killing of an American ambassador, Iran approaching nuclear breakout, a break with our relationship with our most important ally in the region, Israel, and in Syria, over 30,000 people are dead. The fundamental difference is President Obama thinks strength is provocative. History teaches us that it's weakness that is provocative. And we are weak at home because of a bad economy, because of the failures of the Obama administration and the failures of leadership. And we're weak overseas as we've seen our defense capabilities decrease, and as the president hasn't stood up with resolution for our values. So, yes, leadership is the overriding issue, and it plays both foreign policy and on the economy.
But the question is, Chairman Peter King, come back to you. Do you think Mr. Romney should put this foreign policy leadership quotient, or lack thereof, into Wednesday night's debate? I mean, there's economic policy quotient that's going to be very important on leadership. What about foreign policy?
Yeah, I think the lack of leadership in foreign policy shows itself in domestic policy. The president is to be president. He has to be commander-in-chief, and he has to be able to guide the nation. You can't do one without the other. If he is a poor and vacillating commander-in-chief with a confusing policy and a policy of appeasement and apology, that's going to reflect itself in domestic policy. I would hope that Governor Romney can find a way to bring that into the debate. I have no inside knowledge. I'm not part of the operation. But I would think that it is a very legitimate issue to raise, the whole issue of presidential leadership, being commander-in-chief, and trying to lead the nation during very desperate economic times. If you're not a courageous commander-in-chief, you're not going to be able to generate confidence in the country to follow you on your economic domestic policy.
I mean, I think, Chairman King, I think that Paul Ryan is right. I think the security apparatus, at least as regards the Middle East, the intelligence apparatus, at least as regards the Middle East, in Team Obama's administration, I think it's broken down. Why the heck would they send Susan Rice around to 5 news stations? What point is there? Even if she had half of the information, or if she had all the information, it's all politics now, and it looks like the professional operation, Peter King, I give you the last word on this, has broken down.
It has. This whole intelligence operation, what Susan Rice did, what the administration did, was to distort the intelligence information they were given. And what they did was they wanted to take terrorism out of the equation, because that would undo the whole agenda of President Obama, that he had defeated al-Qaeda. And also it would take away from the issue that that consulate was not properly protected. That should have been protected much more strongly than it was. This is a failure by the administration, but it's reflective, as Ambassador Williamson said. You're talking about Iraq, you're talking about Iran, you're talking about Syria, you're talking about Libya, the entire region, and the betrayal of our closest ally, Israel.
I mean, Ambassador Williamson, I'll give you the last word on this. Has the security apparatus broken down elsewhere? That is an important question. I mean, we're not going to know. They're not going to investigate themselves. Nobody in the White House wants to tell the truth right now related to this. But in your judgment, having served there, having served in those areas, do you think security has broken down throughout the Middle East region?
We have no effective strategy, no foreign policy that makes sense. Security's broken down, and the president, instead of meeting with world leaders, as American presidents have done for decades at the UN, met with Whoopi Goldberg and then left town. An American ambassador is killed, and he goes to Las Vegas to raise money. It is misguided approach where politics is dominating and American interests are compromised.
All right. Thank you, gentlemen. Appreciate it. Homeland Security Chairman Peter